Clap your hands, do your dance, stomp your feet, praise Him while you're here. Clap your hands, do your dance, celebrate, praise Yahweh's name. This is not a sad song, not a mad song either. I know it's been hard on you lately. Just take a breather. Tell God thank you. He gave you everything you have. Breath as life. We should be dead. We should be dead. Grace is this life, what a gift. He's been lifting our heads, trying to wake us up to the truth, through the trials, through the storms, through the tears. Every heartbeat's a reason, every moment a test in its season. Rise up, be grateful, give God your best. Do your dance, stomp your feet, praise Him while you're here. Clap your hands, do your dance, celebrate, praise Yahweh's name.
Eat money.
Yeah. All of my sins take away from me. Save me from myself, save a place for me. Help me keep your laws, keep them faithfully. And Father, even if I fall, make a way for me. Yeah. All of my sins take away from me. Save me from myself, save a place for me. Help me keep your laws, keep them faithfully. And Father, even if I fall, make a way for me. Yeah, keep me in the palm of your mighty hands. Father, don't let me fall. False excuses, know you heard them all. Could've ignored me, but you heard my call. And you refused to let your servant fall. You know that really keep on calling. Every now and then I get withdrawals. Man, they hit different when your sense of center of it all. Have you forget about that time you violated laws? And you needed Abba to forgive you, He forgave it all. That's why I pray that you remember me for memories that made you smile and not the ones that made you judge the least. Father, I pray that when you raise up out that judgment seat, that you see it fit for me to reign with you above the beast. But at the least, all of my sins take away from me. Save me from myself, save a place for me. Help me keep your laws, keep them faithfully. And Father, even if I fall, make a way for me. Yeah, all of my sins take away from me. Save me from myself, save a place for me. Help me keep your laws, keep them faithfully. And Father, even if I fall, make a way for me. Yeah, even if I fall, I know he in charge. The great shepherd of the sheep, I know he hear my voice. He gave me life or death for real, I don't deserve a choice. Took all of those things that was against me, then he made it, boy. I say, yeah, how was shine? Follow me down these wicked roads, don't let that drama slide. Cause it's been written on them scrolls back when they prophesied. And it don't matter how it goes, you never left my side, even though I should've died. Why? But your grace is sufficient. Look how you took my wicked mind and every place was missing. Look how you took my spirit blind and then you gave me vision. Even though I was out of line, I refused to listen. You gave me wisdom. That's why all of my sins take away from me. Save me from myself, save a place for me. Help me keep your laws, keep them faithfully. And Father, even if I fall, make a way for me. Yeah. All of my sins take away from me. Save me from myself, save a place for me. Help me keep your laws, keep them faithfully. And Father, even if I fall, make a way for me. Yeah.
Ya Baraka, Ya Baraka, Yahweh, Yahweh, Waya Shamaka, Waya Shamaka, Yahweh, Yahweh, Ya Yahweh, Panyawa Al Yak, Panyawa Al Yak, Waya Khanka, Waya Khanka, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yasha Yahweh, Yasha Yahweh, Panyawa Al Yak, Panyawa Al Yak, Waya Sham, Waya Sham, Laka Shalom, Laka Shalom, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Shah, Barak Rapah, Barak Rapah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Shah, Barak Rapah, Barak Rapah, Yasha Allah, Yasha Allah.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Shalom to everybody. What's going on? What's going on, brothers and sisters? All praise to the Most High God. In the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. It's your brother, Priest Daniela, represent Lions of Israel, Maccabees TV. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God for allowing us to convene here yet again this Saturday and to be able to have a conversation that hopefully will edify everyone that gets a chance to listen to today's lesson. I want to shout out everybody that's looking at us on our YouTube platforms, guys. If you're not subscribed, make sure you got make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell so you guys can be notified every time that we go live on our YouTube platforms. And of course, drop a comment in the comment section. And shout out to those that are listening to the class on Clubhouse. As usual, I provided the link at the top of the room. So you guys are welcome to come over to YouTube and to look at the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be presenting this morning. All right. So without further ado, brothers and sisters, I'm going to open the floor for Elder Zahab to say any opening words he wants to say, and then we'll get started. But before I do that, let me say this too. For some reason, when I do my classes on Saturdays, I get a red bar on Clubhouse for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. So if there's any audio issues, like I always tell you guys, we provide a link for you guys to come over to YouTube. So there should not be any issues. With that being said, Zahab, if you want to say a couple of words, the floor is yours.
Hey, shalom, please, shalom. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All praises, man. Barakatah Yahweh. Ba'ashema Mashak Yahushua. The water, the water, the water. Amen. All praise to the Most High in the name of His only begotten Son of Mashak Yahushua. The water family for joining us here on this Shabbat. You know, you could be anywhere else. We're glad that you're with us. All praise to the Most High. That's pretty much it, man. Hey, my mic ain't scratchy, right?
No, your mic is not scratchy. You're doing better this week.
All pretty, brother. I done got me a Rode mic with a little podcast set up, man. Listen, bro. If you hear any scratch, let me know. I'm taking it right back.
Elder Zahab is advancing, y'all. All praise to the Most High. How much snow did y'all get?
It wasn't really nothing to cry about. It ain't nothing, man. This is New York, man. It's a little light dust up. I want to say about 4 or 5 inches or whatnot. But
that's not bad. They was talking about 10 or more, so the Most
High right. You know, but the Most High control the weather, though. You know what I mean? Esau, right. He'll prognosticate and say, "Oh, it's gonna be the end of the world," but it's a light dust up, man. I mean, I remember the blizzard from '93. I don't know if you go that far. No, was it '93? No, it wasn't '93. Priest, it was like mid '90s,
like
or late '90s. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all praise to the Most High.
All praise to the Most High, man. You know, so we appreciate you brothers and sisters being here. If you live in the Northeast like we do, today might be a day where you guys are snowed in and you can't go to camp. So you came to fellowship with us, and we definitely appreciate it and don't take your time for granted. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into today's lesson. So as we all know, we're not breaking any new ground whatsoever. But as we know, we are in the time of year where people are, quote unquote, festive for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons they're festive. And a lot of people, and in some cases, it's people that we actually love, you know, family members, friends, maybe even coworkers, acquaintances, are celebrating and observing times that they really don't know much about outside of what was taught to them through indoctrination growing up, whether they were Christians or even people that were non-religious. Pretty much most people, including myself, was raised with indoctrination when it comes to this time of year. And so normally for those that have been following the camp for years, usually on Christmas Eve, I'll do a class the day before Christmas, you know, pretty much showing the pagan origins of Christmas. All praise to the Most High this year. Elder Zahab did the class instead, so that was a beautiful thing. And the so-called New Year's actually falls in the middle of the week next week. And so I said to myself, you know, I'm going to actually teach about it on Saturday. And then if anybody else wants to do a class on it, you know, Wednesday night, you're free to do that. But I figured since we're here and it's a Saturday morning, let's talk about it. And also I said to myself, possibly if I, you know, do this class, maybe some of y'all can, you know, take the class, send the link to somebody that you love that's willing to listen, right? And just have them watch the class and they can learn some new things, and still ultimately they're going to make a decision for themselves, but at least they can be aware of what the truth is, and they'll be without excuse on Judgment Day. That's the idea. So January 1st is not the new year. I think we all know this. January 1st is just as pagan as Christmas. I think most people know that the symbolism and everything that surrounds so-called Christmas, a lot of that stuff goes back to pagan origins and roots. But I'm here to tell you that January 1st is equally as pagan as Christmas is. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into today's lesson. The first thing I want to talk about is something called Watch Night. So my background is that my mother and my father were Pentecostal, Apostolic, West Indian people. So the earliest part of my life, I spent it in church, right? And the tradition was in the church that we went to they had something called Watch Night. It's also known as Freedom's Eve. And what would happen is we would go to church as children on New Year's Eve. The service would probably start, I don't know, about 8 o'clock, right? And then at about maybe, let's say, 11:55 p.m., it's like about 5 minutes before midnight, the service would abruptly end and everybody would get on their knees and everybody would be so-called praying into the new year, right? Now, I was coming up thinking that watch night was we're watching for the new year, because the people in the church that I went to never explained the history behind what watch night was. So to me, watch night was just watching for the new year. I was taught that we were praying to God as the new year came in, instead of being at a party somewhere or in Times Square waiting for the ball to drop. We'd watch for New Year's, on your knees praying to God. Pretty much that's the idea.
Hey, Salakia priest, is that all denominations? Because I was raised Baptist, right? You was Pentecostal, I was Baptist, and I only heard of watch night one time. My dad told me I need to go to watch night. I was, what the hell is watch night? But they never had that in the Baptist church, so I'm just wondering.
I'm not sure. I'm sure that the Pentecostals do it. People that's under the Pentecostal religion and the charismatic religion, they do it, but Baptists maybe not.
Yeah, I was Baptist. I never heard of that.
If you guys that are on YouTube or Clubhouse, if you guys participated in Watch Night in your youth, y'all could put it in the chat and let everybody know. But it's definitely a tradition among some Christians.
Okay, Slack. I saw a sister said Baptist too, Elder. Okay. I maybe it was just my family and my Baptist church, but I never participated in it. But I heard of it, and just like you, priest, I thought they was gonna watch. I'm like, what are you watching for? It's like you count down to midnight. What is there to watch for? But Salaki, go ahead, please.
And that's just and it's I'm not going to put any shade on the elders that come before us, our parents, because they probably didn't know. They didn't know that there's actual history behind what Watch Night was. What we were doing in the Christian church was a bastardization of an actual historical event, right? So I'm pretty sure most of you brothers and sisters, especially foundational Black Americans, you are aware of this history. Watch Night goes back to something called Freedom's Eve, right? So the Emancipation Proclamation was written by Abraham Lincoln or passed, whatever it is, around, let's say, September of the year. And I got the slide later on. Later on in the lesson, it's going to give you the actual date. I'm kind of just paraphrasing for right now. But the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by Abraham Lincoln, I want to say sometime around September of that year, but it didn't go into effect until January 1st. So what happened was a lot of these slaves actually would meet in churches. It was one of the few places that so-called foundational Black Americans were able to meet freely. So they all met inside the church and they waited for news of the Emancipation Proclamation actually going into effect so that they could be emancipated from slavery. That's where it comes from. It has nothing to do with January 1st or the church. But again, the church that I went to, and some of y'all in the chat saying y'all went to, never taught us this history. With that being said, let's go ahead and let's watch this video real quick. Oops, wait. You know what? That's actually not a video. Let's go back. My bad. Yeah, my bad. Okay, let's continue, guys. I got videos coming up on it. It's been a while since I did this PowerPoint. Let's go on. So the origin of December, let's start there. The word December, the root word of December is the word deci. Like when you get your decimal point, the decimal point is 10, right? So December is actually, if you look at the name, it's actually just the 10th month. And on the Roman calendar, December was actually the 10th month. So it wasn't even the new year. It was originally the 10th month. Let's continue. So now, this is the question that I was asking. How many Black churches mentioned this on Watch Night? Because Zab and I agree that the churches we went to never mentioned this stuff. We thought it was just watching for New Year's, but they're not even teaching their flock anything. Watch the video.
On the night of December 31st, 1862, as America was in the midst of a civil war, blacks who had freedom living in the United States gathered at churches or other safe places while thousands of their enslaved black sisters and brothers stood, knelt, and prayed on plantations and other slaveholding sites in America, all for the same purpose. They waited anxiously for President Abraham Lincoln to sign the Emancipation Proclamation into law. This act began the tradition of watch night service among the Black community in America. It symbolizes the historical fact that on September 22nd, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, a document which legally recognized that the Civil War was fought for slavery, and the end result brought an end to over 300 years of human bondage in the United States. Unfortunately, this ritual would not be known or practiced by the slaves of Texas for another 2.5 years. As Southern slave owners struggled desperately to maintain their standard of living, they continued on in open defiance of federal law until June 19, 1865, when Union Major General Gordon Granger arrived on the island of Galveston, Texas, to take command of more than 2,000 federal troops who had recently arrived in Texas to enforce the emancipation of its slaves and oversee a peaceful transition of power.
So that's where you guys get your Juneteenth from. That's where you guys get your Juneteenth from. These are these slave owners that refused to go along with the Emancipation Proclamation until finally they were forced. All right, let's continue.
Additionally, nullifying all laws passed within Texas during the war by Confederate lawmakers. It might surprise you that long before it was known as a watch night service, Black congregations, especially those in the South, already had a tradition of gathering on New Year's Eve prior to the Emancipation Proclamation.
And they were doing that because they were following their slave masters. Their slave masters told them that New Year's was January 1st, but the Bible doesn't say that. And as we know, most slaves were not able to read. So they went along with what they were taught by the slave master and the puppet preachers that were put over, basically overseeing these Black people. What if I told you that same spirit is in the churches today? You have these overseers, these so-called white preachers that go to seminary school, right? And they learn from their white masters. And then they come and set up churches in our community and they teach the people, and the people hang off their every word, but the people never research anything. If they actually read the Bible for themselves, they wouldn't find any verses that say that New Year's Eve is January 1st. But they don't read, just like the slaves of antiquity didn't read. Let's continue.
According to Valdosta State University history professor Dr. David Williams, Blacks often met on New Year's Eve because New Year's Day for many Black people in the slave era South was known as Heartbreak Day. New Year's Day was often the day when slaveholders sold slaves, when families, parents, and children, husbands and wives were separated permanently. Slaves gathered on New Year's Eve because that may have been the last time many families had the opportunity to be together.
So what are Black people celebrating in the churches? Do they know this history? No.
And you know what too? I touched on this also. During Christmas, that's when a lot of rebellions happen too. You know what I mean? Even though our people was in a weakened state, some of us still wanted to rebel, and they use these so-called holidays to enact a plan. I also want to say when I watch things like this, I get triggered. Is that the word? Right? Because when I see things like this, I'm like, damn, imagine if they sold my mama and they sold my brother and my sister, and I'm left alone on the planet. Like throughout years, right? How is it that we digress all the way down to now the white man is our friend? Now they could be in the kingdom with us. Now they co-heirs and vassal king. What happened along the line, bro? You know what I'm saying? I'm never gonna forget this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm taking this to the grave, bro. You know what I mean? If I don't make it till Yahweh Shah come back when I get resurrected, you know what I'm saying? I'm taking this to the grave, bro. Because you ain't just gonna do our people like that and think it's all good. I'm sorry.
And that goes into, which I'm not going to get too deep into, but that goes into a way of destroying a nation, because when you start separating the family, right, you separate father from children, mother from children, so forth and so on, you begin to lose your sense of who you are. Because how do you learn who you are as a people? You learn that that's passed down from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. That's Job 8 and 8. Inquire of the former times and make us prepare yourself to a search of your fathers. So you learn about who you are from your father, and he learned about who he was from his father, so forth and so on. And there's not a continuous chain of this information amongst our people, and that's why we're lost. That's why Black people are calling themselves 10, 15, 20 different nationalities, and we're arguing about it. We're foundational Black Americans, we're ADOS, we're the Israelites, no, excuse me, no, we're the Moors, no, we're the indigenous people, we're this, we're that, we're everything. You see what I'm saying? So this is strategic what the white man is doing, what he did, and it lends credence as to why we are in the condition that we are today. It makes perfect sense. And the church should have been a place where at the very least this history was passed down. But unfortunately, as you guys heard in the video, the narrator said this is a tradition that modern churches today don't teach because they don't know it. All right, let's go ahead and let's move on. Because I feel it necessary to talk about this fellow right here called Abraham Lincoln. See, in school, we were also indoctrinated that this guy freed the slaves. So some people, really most Black people, they like this guy. They think he's a great guy. And maybe some of my Israelite family that's listening to me right now, you think Abraham Lincoln was a great guy because he freed the slaves. So I got to help y'all out. I have to help you out. So we're going to come outside the PowerPoint, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to read a little bit about good old Dishonest Abe. They call him Honest Abe, but I call him Dishonest Abe. This guy's the devil like everybody else. So this is from the National Archives, and this is the title of the article. It says, Lincoln to the slaves, go somewhere else. Y'all catch that? Translation, the Emancipation Proclamation was not written to free the slaves so that the slaves could stay here and integrate into society and become great, productive Americans. No, Lincoln was like, if I let y'all go, y'all got to get out. Guess who else is saying that today? You got it. Orange 47, Donald Trump. It's the same spirit. We were lied to in school about this guy. So let's read. It says the issue of slavery divided the country under Abraham Lincoln's presidency. The national argument was simple. Either keep slavery or abolish it. But Abraham Lincoln, known as the great emancipator, may have also been known as the great colonizer when he supported a third direction to the slavery debate. Move African Americans somewhere else. Get the Black people out of the country. It's the same spirit that you guys are seeing today through MAGA, through Donald Trump, through Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes. It's the same spirit. Long before the Civil War in 1854, Lincoln addressed his own solution to slavery at a speech delivered in Peoria, Illinois. I should not know what to do as to the existing institution of slavery. My first impulse would be free all the slaves and send them to Liberia. Now, Lincoln was not able to do that, but James Monroe was. James Monroe repatriated many slaves from America, freed foundational Black Americans that were freed. He repatriated them to Liberia in Africa. That's what he did. It's called the Monroe Doctrine. That's what he did. So they all had the same mindset from Lincoln all the way down to Monroe. Get these Black people out of here. Okay? My first impulse would be to free all the slaves and send them to Liberia, to their own native land. While Lincoln acknowledged that this was logistically impossible, by the time he assumed the presidency and the Civil War was underfoot, the nation was in such duress, he tried it anyway. By early 1861, Lincoln ordered a secret trip to modern-day Panama to investigate the land of a Philadelphian named Ambrose Thompson. So this guy from Philadelphia named Ambrose Thompson, he had some land in what's today known as Panama. Thompson had volunteered his Cherokee land. Give me 1 second, guys. It's lucky. Yeah, Thompson had volunteered his Cherokee land as a refuge for freed slaves. The slaves would work in the abundant coal mines on the property. Brothers and sisters, do you guys understand how treacherous it is to work in a coal mine? So it's like jumping out the frying pan into the fire. So the slaves in America, they were working in the tobacco fields, in the cotton fields, whatever, in the sun, working hard and toiling, right? You're going to free them, send them to Panama, and put them in coal mines, which is even worse work. This is how the white man looks at us. It's even worse. The slaves would work in an abundant coal mine on his property. The coal would be sold to the Navy, right? And the profits would go to the freed slaves to further build up their new land. That would have never happened. The coal would have been sold to the Navy, and the blacks would have never got their money. We already know how this works. Lincoln sought to test the idea on a small slave population in Delaware, but the idea met fierce opposition from abolitionists when it went public, right? Let's go down a little bit. Right here. It says, in August of 1862, Lincoln invited 5 prominent black men to the White House, the first black delegation invited on such terms, and the topic was simple, that whites and blacks cannot coexist, and that separation is most expedient for peace. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, everything that you were indoctrinated about in school by Abraham Lincoln, you could take that and throw it in the garbage. You thought he was a nice guy. You thought he had a love for black people. That's why he emancipated them, because that's what you were indoctrinated with. Now we have learned that's an absolute lie. Absolute lie.
Lincoln sound like MAGA. If there was MAGA back then.
If there was MAGA back then, Abraham Lincoln would have been a part of it. Right? Lincoln encouraged these 5 men to rally support for an excess. This is your boule. Before the Boule Society existed, because the Boule started in the early 1900s, but this is your boule. The white man always uses the same tactics, guys. We just went over the feast of dedication, brothers and sisters, right? You had this one aged man in the book of Maccabees. Remember the story? You had the aged man, and they wanted to use him and make it seem like he ate abominable foods because he had a reputation. And if he did that, the people would follow. Of course, we know in the Bible he refused. But this is the tactic the white man has always used. We're going to find us some Negroes, pay them off, give them some money, and they're going to push our agenda. Today, we call guys like this Anton Daniels. Today, we call guys like this daggone Officer Tatum. And the list goes on and on. These are your modern-day black coons. Myron Gaines. And the list goes on and on and on. Same tactic over and over and over again. All right. Anyway, if you guys want to read the rest of the article, you guys can do that. Once again, the name of the article is called Lincoln to the Slaves. Go somewhere else. You guys can read it. You have to take everything that you know about good old Honest Abe, and you can take it and throw it in the garbage. This guy is the devil too. Abraham Lincoln, many of us didn't know. So instead of our people being taught this history, when they go to church on December 31st, this is what they're doing instead.
Angels coming in Jesus' name. In the name of Jesus. Well, it's 2 minutes to a new year. So I want you for 1 minute to just begin to magnify God. And then we use the last minute to do a countdown. Come on, begin to magnify him. Come on, begin to magnify the Lord. Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Who will not serve a God like this? He's bigger than the biggest. He's great. greater than the greatest. He's mightier than the mightiest. He's a healer. He's a lift.
So we're clear what we're watching. He's not saying anything. This is all pomp, circumstances, and show appealing to people's emotions, and they're not learning a damn thing.
He's our salvation, our joy, our healer. A for Alpha, B for bread of life, C for Christ, D deliverer, E the El Shaddai, F for God, G for in Jesus' name, in the name of Jesus. I want you to begin to give God
nothing. I'm gonna skip it. I know it's annoying. It's annoying to me, but this is what's going on. They're learning nothing. Let's move on. And we're also doing stuff like this. Can't forget this. Say this. I have to say it. I gotta say it. You know, I might offend somebody. That's okay. You'll forgive me later. If you look at the audiences for these both of these services, it's mostly women in there. Women are more easily seduced. The Bible tells you that. The men that you see in there, a lot of these dudes are nothing but jellyback, no backbone, spineless dudes that go because wife said you had to go to this crap, and you don't even believe in it. I'm just keeping it real. It's crazy. You being led by her instead of you leading her. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Let's continue. So let's deal with this first. The starting of the day at midnight doesn't come from the Bible. That comes from Rome. So here we have a book called Roman Antiquities, or an account of the manners and customs of the Romans. And when you come over to page 332, as you guys can see, it says the day among the Romans was either civil or natural. The civil dice from midnight to midnight. So the idea of a day going from midnight to midnight comes from Rome. And us, bringing it up to modern times today, we are in what is basically, for all intents and purposes, modern Rome. With modern Egypt and Babylon mixed in. That's why it's called Babylon the Great. Confusion. Great confusion. And the reason why it's confusing is because, again, going back to the slaves on the plantation who could not read the Bible, so therefore they celebrated New Year's at midnight. They thought New Year, a day begins at midnight, right? But they had an excuse. They couldn't read. What is the excuse in 2025 in the age of information for people to still be celebrating a day beginning at midnight? Especially if you are somebody that believes in the Bible and calls yourself a Christian. That's not in the Bible. It's a Roman custom that seeped into the Christian church, and they follow it. These are the same people that come and scoff at the Israelites, but they're doing this. How can midnight be morning also? When you're looking at the word midnight means the middle of the night. How can the middle of the night be the morning? Can somebody help me out with that? It doesn't make any sense. When you look at words like midday, right? That makes sense because midday is 12 in the afternoon and it's light outside. It's midday. That makes sense. But if midnight is dark, how is that the day? Or the beginning of a new day? It's not. Actually, what midnight is, it's the witching hour. What is the witching hour? The time late at night when the powers of a so-called witch, a magician, etc., are believed to be the strongest. And this happens around midnight, conveniently at the same time that they tell you your day starts. Conveniently around the same time they tell you that your year starts. December 31st at 12 o'clock is now January 1st. It's a new day. Once again, it's proof that Rome and America are one and the same. So we're looking at Roman architecture on the right, and we're looking at American architecture on the left. And a picture speaks 1,000 words, doesn't it? I don't have to say no more. America's Rome all over again. And that statue out front is a Roman statue in front of an American governmental building. Make that make sense. More proof that America's Rome again. When you guys go to court, on the right-hand side, these are all the terms, legal terms that are used in court, which is why a lot of times, brothers and sisters that go to court, you try to represent yourself, you get lost in the system because you're just trying to, you don't even know the vocabulary of the system. Most of the stuff is Latin, the terms that are being used in court, right? So you have to go out now and buy Black's Law Dictionary. It sends you some legal papers with all this legal jargon on it. You got to go buy Black's Laws Dictionary to try to decipher what it is they're talking about because they're using number Latin terms, right? And then on the left-hand side, we could see that all of our months that we use in modern times come from Rome. January is Genesis month. That's a god. February is February's month. That's a god. March is from Mars. April is from Aphrodite. Right? June is from Juno. Right? Then, when you get to July comes from Julius Caesar. And for those that know, the Caesars were worshipped as gods in Rome. They had temples built to them where people actually worshiped the literal Caesars. These are facts. August is from Augustus Caesar, right? And then when you get down to September, now it starts using Latin numbers. September, the root word of September is a Latin word for 7. The root word of October is the Latin word for 8. The root word for November is the Latin word for 9. And the root word for December is the Latin word for 10. All of that stuff is Latin, and we're using it today. And then somebody will tell me that America is not Rome all over again. How? And you guys can see that I have the Latin numbers on the right, so you guys can see that the Latin numbers were translated into months. But again, it's very important to understand that December only means 10. So that's not the new year at all. I mean, it should be obvious. If you guys have been here from the beginning, you just heard me and Elder Zahab speak about the fact that here in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, we had a snowstorm. How in the hell is this the new year? Everything outside is dead. I'm looking out my window as I'm talking to y'all, and the roads are white because there's snow still on the ground. The trees are all covered in snow. How is this the new year? Even more proof that America's Rome all over again. On the right-hand side, is an image of Zeus enthroned. On the left-hand side, that's an image of George Washington posing as Zeus. This is in a museum here in America. Why would George Washington be depicted as Zeus? It's interesting, right? And by the way, he's also doing the Baphomet pose as well. George Washington right here. It's also doing the Baphomet throws right here. All this stuff is satanic and pagan. That's why God is going to burn this place to the ground. Period. It needs to be burnt to the ground. Let's talk about this guy here named Janus. Janus is the guy whom January is named after. Janus is the god of beginnings, gateways, transitions, doorways, etc. All right. Let's watch this video and get a little bit of history, background history on who Janus is.
Janus is a deity of Roman mythology, the son of Apollo. According to some versions, Janus was born in the Thessalian region in Greece, but left for the region of Lazio, located in current Italy. There, he was welcomed by the mythical king Camese, with whom he divided the power. Janus edified several cities, and, according to some Roman myths, Janus welcomed the god Saturn after his banishment from Greece by the hands of Jupiter.
Now I'm gonna go back just slightly, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a
myths. Janus welcomed.
Give you guys a little bit of a spoiler alert that's gonna come up at the end of the lesson, right? They just told you guys that god right there, so-called god, that's Saturn. They told you that. What you guys are gonna learn by the end of the lesson is that image in the Sistine Chapel that Michelangelo painted. That's Saturn. Saturn is always depicted as an old man. Yeah, we'll get that. I just want you to know that is Saturn. And guess what? You got black people that go and make a trip and a pilgrimage to the Sistine Chapel to look at that, thinking that's God, that's Saturn. And some of these churches have these images in their churches of a white God. That's not God, that's Saturn. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
From the god Saturn after his banishment from Greece by the hands of Jupiter. Saturn would be the equivalent of the Titan Cronus of Greek mythology, and, as a form of gratitude for being welcomed, the old god began the golden era of mankind. During this period, men started to live in a world of extreme happiness and abundance. Cronus also blessed Janus, giving him the power to know the past and the future. Janus was the deity accountable for teaching men how to use boats, and also introduced them to coins. After the end of his life among the men, Janus became a deity. As a god, he would be the deity responsible for protecting doors and gates. This god was depicted with two faces and had a key in his hands. When he opens a door, the god unleashes a new cycle, and this can be a new cycle of harvest, or the passage from childhood to adult life. He is also associated with the beginning and the end of wars. During the war between the Romans and the Sabines, the god stopped the Sabines from attacking the Roman armies, creating a source of boiling water, preventing the advance of the Sabines. The Romans eventually repaid their protection by building several temples in his honor. The main one was closed during peaceful period.
So you guys get the idea. So Janus is a pagan deity. And so this is a whole entire ritual as we pass from through the gateway from one year to the next year. This is simply one gigantic ritual. They didn't choose January 1st out of their behind, for lack of a better word. They didn't do that. This is well calculated, well crafted, because they understand this pagan history and what it means and the symbolism associated with it. They understand it. And what you're going to find out is that throughout the years, a lot of the early Christian fathers decided to deal with what's called syncretism. I've told you guys this before. Instead of actually speaking against these traditions, they allowed those traditions to be incorporated with the Bible, to be mixed together with the Bible. And that's why you see these rituals in Christianity. That's why you see these symbols in Christianity, because the men that had power at a certain time basically sold out. The reason why the Israelites are so hated, we're some of the only people that have not gone along with this. We haven't. We speak against it. That's why we're so hated. Let's go to the next slide. So again, I have a list here of all the different months, where they come from, etc., right? But this is kind of redundant. I showed you this on another slide, so let's go to the next one. So now we're going to come and we're going to look and see. We're on a website called dictionary.com, and we're at a portion that says, what does September mean? And you guys can see the word September simply means seventh month. It was the seventh month on the Roman calendar. Okay, let's go to the next one. October. October was the 8th month on the Roman calendar. November was the 9th month. For those of you guys that speak Spanish, how do you say 9 in Spanish? You say nueve. Because Spanish basically comes out of the Latin anyway. So it's just the same thing as 9. Right? And of course, December is 10. So clearly, if December is the 10th month, it can't be the new year, because a year has 12 months. So something is wrong. I came to the etymology dictionary, and we're going to read December, 12th and last by modern reckoning month of the calendar, the month of the winter solstice. Late English from Old French, Decembre, from Latin December, from decem, which means 10. Okay, let's move on. So now, let's talk a little bit about a little bit of history. You have something called the Calendar Reform Act of 1582. The Calendar Reform Act of 1582. Let's watch this video real quick, and then we're going to talk about it. Listen.
Have you ever wondered why we celebrate New Year on January 1st? Well, it wasn't always so. There's been a lot of toing and froing over the past 2,000 years before this date was consolidated. Welcome to Intrigued Mind, where today we will go back in time to discover why January 1st is the day that we celebrate the coming of a brand new year. The earliest recorded celebrations of New Year's were made by the Babylonians in around 2000 BCE. These ancient people held a festival that went on for several days in honor of the rebirth of the natural world. They called it Ekitu, and it took place at the beginning of spring. By the time of Rome's legendary founder, Romulus, the Romans had developed their own calendar based on the phases of the moon. It is believed that the Romans developed their lunar calendar using knowledge that came to them from the Babylonians and the Greeks. However, this 305-day-long calendar, which was based on the 10-month-long phases of the moon, did not match with the solar year, which at 365 days ran closer to 12 months. At this point in time, the Romans celebrated New Year during the vernal equinox, which is one of the 2 days each year when day and night are of the same length and generally falls around March 20th in the northern hemisphere. Enter Numa Pompilius.
So, we saw 2 civilizations from the ancient Babylonians all the way up until the early Romans. When the early Romans came into power, they were celebrating New Year's in the spring. They were celebrating in the spring. During the time when Rome was a republic, they were celebrating New Year's in the spring. Not to go too deep, but Rome went from being a republic to being an empire. When Rome was a republic, there was no emperors. You have what was called consuls, 2 consuls that would be elected every year. It tells you that, what is it, 1 Maccabees chapter 8? So the history matches with the Bible. And early on, they were celebrating New Year in the spring, which is correct. And then something changed. Let's go.
Who, according to legend, reigned from 715 to 673 BCE as the second king of Rome after Romulus. It is Numa Pompilius who is credited with the establishment of a fixed calendar. This calendar used calends, which was the first day of the month, and is where we get the word calendar from. Nonus, which was the 9th day before the Ides of each month, and Ait, which was the day that fell roughly in the middle of each month. The leftover months that had not previously been accounted for in the old calendar were simply known as winter, and the calendar year commenced in March, which coincided with the start of spring. Numa Pompilius added 2 extra months so that the length of the calendar now matched the length of a solar year. The first month was named Janus, after the Roman god of time, transitions, beginnings, and endings. The second month was named Februarius, in reference to the purification ritual that the Romans undertook on the 15th of February each year.
So there were rituals associated with these months. December has its own rituals with Mithras and Saturnalia. January has its own rituals with Janus and Kronos, and February has rituals too. So when you start seeing certain days being associated closely with Christianity, it's because the Christians of certain empires simply just caved in. They caved in.
Gone. And speaking of that too, I went into also there was I don't know if you're gonna add this too, priest. There was a emperor Aurelian. He's the one that just blended everything in for Saturnalia also. That's why the Christians have it for December 25th. It's funny you mentioned their feasts and whatnot, because same thing for quote unquote Easter, right? All these Christian anything on the Christian calendar goes back to some Roman freak off party or some disgusting pagan occult ritual, and they just remixed and flipped it. You know what I mean? So that's why we got no business celebrating nothing on their days.
Right. And we can read now. So there's no excuse. Being ignorant is a choice. And most Christians choose to be ignorant. Let's keep it real.
Thus, the calend was the first day of January, which was the first month. So it made sense that the first day of the new year was on January 1st. This concept, which was loosely adhered to in Rome, was consolidated in the year 153 BCE, when January 1st was chosen as the day on which the new consuls of Rome were inaugurated. This was during the years of the Roman Republic.
I didn't catch that. Your president is sworn in when? January. They moved the New Year's to January. Why? So that's when the Roman consuls were sworn in. America literally aligns with Rome in every way.
So it made sense that the first day of the new year was on January 1st. This concept, which was loosely adhered to in Rome, was consolidated in the year 153 BCE, when January 1st was chosen as the day on which the new consuls of Rome were inaugurated. This was during the years of the Roman Republic, when the position of consul was the highest-ranking political office in Rome. So it was an important day for the Romans. By the time 46 BCE rolled around, there was a new sheriff in town, so to speak. Just don't mention the Ides of March. And Julius Caesar was the head of the Roman Empire. Caesar worked with Greek mathematicians to fix an error in the calendar. There were too many leap years, so these were reduced to one every 4 years to use up the leftover time from the 365 days that made up 1 year, which was 0.25 days. After this amendment, it took 455 days to get things back on track, but they got there in the end. January 1st was still considered the new year, and with the expansion of the Roman Empire, this custom was adopted throughout Caesar's vast lands. Once the Roman Empire...
So whatever lands that the Romans ruled over, it doesn't matter what these countries believed the new year was before. Once Rome came into power and the Roman Empire expanded and they were under that leadership, guess what? Your new year now is January 1st too. Right? That's why the Bible says the whole world is covered in darkness, gross darkness, complete darkness.
Empire collapsed and Christianity took hold throughout Europe from the 4th century CE onwards. The custom of welcoming the beginning of a new year on January 1st was cast aside in favor of a date that was sacred to this new religion, March 25th, the day of the Annunciation.
So what happened was, and pardon these fake images of Christ and whatever, what happened was the Christians just figured out a date. I don't know how, but they figured out a date of what's called the Annunciation, which is off, by the way. If you don't know what the Annunciation is, that is what you read in the book of Luke when the angel came and told Mary that she was going to be bring forth Christ. That's called the Annunciation, right? So they picked a day and said, you know what, March 25th is the day of the Annunciation. That's the day that Mary was told that she's about to get pregnant, whatever like that, and they made that the new year. Now that's off. However, because it's falling around March 25th, which is about the springtime, it's more accurate than January 1st, if y'all understand what I'm saying. So they were right to kind of move it more towards the spring. That's correct. And what you guys are looking at is a yo-yo effect with the calendar, back and forth, depending on who's ruling.
Archangel Gabriel appeared before the Virgin Mary to tell her of the Immaculate Conception. Indeed, the liturgical calendar was now the most important calendar to Christians. January 1st was not an important feast day for this religion, so they did not mark the coming of the new year with this date. This liturgical calendar was predominant throughout Europe in the early medieval period in terms of special days, used alongside the Julian calendar to mark the passage of one year. It was not until the year 1582 that the Pope at the time, Pope Gregory VIII, decided that the Julian calendar needed an overhaul. Up to this point, the number of leap days in the Julian calendar was still causing problems, especially at Easter time, which was supposed to fall on the Sunday after the first full moon, after the vernal equinox. Incidentally, this was the same time that the ancient Babylonians celebrated Akutu, the festival of rebirth. Just as Easter is the time of Jesus' resurrection, Christianity always tried to match their important times of the year with pagan celebrations to make the transition from paganism to Christianity more appealing.
Y'all caught that? Did y'all catch that? Let's listen to that again. Let's listen to that again.
The festival of rebirth. Just as Easter is the time of Jesus' resurrection, Christianity always tried to match their important times of the year with pagan celebrations to make the transition from paganism to Christianity more appealing.
So they compromised. That's why Easter and Passover are so close. That's why dedication and Christmas are so close. Because we had some amongst us that would compromise. They wanted more people to come in. Just like the churches today compromise. They don't teach the real gospel. They don't condemn sin really. Why? Because they want the people to come in. The more people that you have is the more money that's coming into the church. So you make compromises. You allow a Christmas tree in your church knowing daggone well that that has nothing to do with the Bible. It's wicked. Let's continue.
But that is a story for another video. Back to Pope Gregory. He had his calendar printed and issued in a papal bull, which meant it was canon law, and therefore had to be adhered to. This papal bull stated that January 1st was once again to be considered the first day of the new year, and it listed all of the feast days in the Christian, now Catholic, calendar in order, from January 1st up until December 31st. However, by this point in time, the Catholic Church was not the only Christian superpower in town. Italy, Spain, and Portugal had no problems getting on board with Pope Gregory's new calendar. But Protestant countries shirked the use of the Gregorian calendar, because why should they adhere to something issued by a Catholic pope? So the Protestant countries of Europe, Britain, and the British colonies stuck with the Julian calendar. Incidentally, even today, the Eastern Orthodox Church still uses the Julian calendar. Fun.
So you guys can understand, those are the countries that were not controlled by the Roman Catholic Church. Now, I've gone over this history before. I don't remember if I went over it in class or if I went over it in the academy, but a lot of that goes back to Henry VIII. Henry VIII is the one that made Britain leave the Catholic Church. Prior to Henry VIII, Britain was a Catholic kingdom as well. But when Henry VIII came into power, he was married to a woman that he didn't want to be married to. She was way older than he was, and he was married to her since he was a little boy. You know, that's how that went back then. You know, you made these marriages for alliances and peace between kingdoms. So he had to marry a woman that was way older than him that he didn't want. So once he became king, he went to the Pope and was like, look, I want to divorce her so I can marry her. And the Pope said no. And so he broke off from the Catholic Church and started the Church of England. And because they were not under the Pope's authority, they didn't go with this calendar reform act of 1582. They were still using the Julian calendar. So you had the world, basically the Christian world, which most of Europe and any place in like maybe the Middle East, Levant, they were both on two different calendars. It was confusion.
In the 1751, the New Style Act calendar was issued in Britain, which declared that New Year's Day would be celebrated on January 1st. This calendar was an act of the British Parliament. Lord Chesterfield was the man behind it, and he had the good sense to see that it was time for Britain and the British Empire to adopt the Gregorian calendar. This calendar was also known as the Chesterfield Act, or the British Calendar Act of 1751. It was declared that this act was for regulating the commencement of the year and for correcting the calendar now in use. The New Style Act calendar changed the start of the legal year from March 25th to January 1st. It kept...
So y'all guys see how it keeps bouncing back and forth? And the reason for that is because it's not scripture. These are just people imposing their will and their opinions on the people. None of this is based on the scriptures. The scriptures are clear. The new year begins in the month of Abib. The Bible is clear. It should have never been all this back and forth. All right, let's move on. So this is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change times and laws. And that's what you were watching in that video, the bouncing back and forth of the calendar. They're changing times and laws. That's what they're doing. Let's move on.
Did you know that October 5th to October...
So real quick, let me go back. Sorry, let me go back. I want you guys to watch this video real quick. Listen to this.
Did you know that October 5th to October 14th, 1582 did not exist ever? We just skipped...
Did y'all catch that? Some of you guys never knew that. Let's watch it again.
Did you know that October 5th to October 14th, 1582 did not exist ever? We just skipped those 10...
One second. So guys, look, October the 5th to October 14th, 1582, those dates were actually erased from the calendar. Did you guys know that? They erased those days. How do you do that? But they did it. Okay, let's watch the video now.
Did you know that October 5th to October 14th, 1582 did not exist ever? We just skipped those 10 days. Currently, Gregorian calendar is used commonly across the world. Before October 1582, Julian calendar was used extensively. In October 1582, a change was made from the old Julian calendar to the new Gregorian calendar. To align the change in seasons between these two calendars, Pope Gregory XIII deleted 10 days from the year 1582.
The Pope deleted 10 days from the calendar. When we switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, which is named after him, he deleted 10 days from the calendar. The Bible says he so would do that. He would think to change times and laws, and he did exactly that.
On the 29th of September 1582, Philip II of Spain passed the change from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. This affected much of Roman Catholic Europe. Hence, October 4th of the Julian calendar was immediately followed by October 15th in the Gregorian calendar at year 15.
So when they switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, on the Julian calendar, it was October the 4th. They went directly from October the 4th all the way to October 15th. They skipped those days in between. That's what they did.
82. This is also the reason why the Catholic Easter does not always coincide with the Orthodox Easter, as Catholic Church follows the Gregorian calendar while Orthodox Church follows the Julian calendar. Subscribe to Crisp Facts.
So you guys could just see the confusion that Esau has done when all the stuff, the Bible already tells you what it is. So we're in the Zondervan Illustrated Bible Dictionary. We're going to look up the month of Abib, right? The word Abib is the first month in the Jewish religious calendar, corresponding to March or April. So it should take place at the end of March or early April. And this is during the time around which Passover is taking place. That is your new year. That is your first month. So if you are in any religion that's based off the Bible, even though we know Christianity itself is not really based off the Bible, because we know now that they've infused a lot of pagan rituals in there, but they verbally say that they come from the teachings of the Bible. That's the foundation. Well, then you should be going by when the Bible says the new year begins. It should have never been all this back and forth stuff that's gone on throughout antiquity. And it definitely should have been a Pope deleting 10 days off the calendar. That should have never happened. But the white man doesn't care about God's word because he looks at himself and says, I am God. And that, because only God can do something like that, erase 10 days. And the white man believes he's God, right? So there you have it. Let's go to the next slide.
Hey, priest, I just want to add also, you know, when they do that too, for what they call it daylight saving time, right?
Yeah.
That's another form of them manipulating time and seeking to change time. Because when you do the history, they said they did it around, I want to say World War II or something like that, to quote unquote save on fuel and blah, blah, blah. But no, it was the Pope who instituted that. Quietly, people don't even know about that. right? And once, like what the priest is bringing out, once they make what is known as a papal bull, it's law. That's why they really rule the world right now. That church, they really rule the world because a lot of people have to bow down and governments have to bow down to them. And to show that, why have people not switched back over? There's been talk about it, but nobody really did it. It's because it's papal law, just like they did with the Gregorian calendar, so on and so forth. They changed laws and times, and ain't nothing nobody could do about it, at least till Yahweh Shah come back. So I just wanted to bring that out also.
Right. So Yahweh Shai has to come and restore all this. This is why, and I'm kind of deviating a little bit, and I'm going to kind of choose my words correctly. This is why we needed, and I want to say, and it was wrong. I'll say it this way. It was wrong for the elders to teach that Christ was going to come back before the year 2000. And one of the reasons why it was wrong is because what year are we really in? With all this manipulation of the calendar, does anybody really think that we know what year it actually is? We don't. Because of all this manipulation with the calendar, with daylight savings time, with deleting days off the calendar, all this other crap that they've been doing, we really don't. That's why Christ said, no man knows the day nor the hour. We don't know the day or the hour because we don't even know what date we're really in. We're all quoting and saying that today is December 27th, but that's based on us believing that we're under this Gregorian calendar because we live, in countries that embrace the Gregorian calendar. But in actuality, in reality, it's really not December 27, 2025. We don't know what it is.
I'm sorry, priest. So we shouldn't listen to some pastors in South Africa talk about the world about to end?
Yeah, man. You shouldn't be listening to these guys, man. That's the reason why Y2K existed. The reason why I'm gonna give it back to you in a second. The reason why you had people thinking that Christ was coming in 2000, then it was 2012. Y'all remember that? Then it was 2019. All those people that push those doctrines have all one thing in common. They all believe wholeheartedly in the Gregorian calendar. That it literally is right about what year it is. It's crazy. Guys,
people giving away houses, money. They think that, oh, Lord is coming back this day because he told some pastor. Yo, there was a dude in Ghana also recently, no lie, recently, like a day or two ago. No, literally 2 days ago. He said that the world was going to end on December 25th. People gave all their money. This dude popped up with a brand new Benz, talk about the Lord heard his prayer and said he's not going to do it anymore. Like, come on, man. Like, the scam is real, bro.
So we're in the Jewish Encyclopedia. So let's see what it says. We already looked at Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. Now we'll go to the Jewish Encyclopedia. Under Abib, it means ears of grain. Name of the first month of the Hebrew calendar, corresponding to the Babylonian and post-exilian Hebrew Nisan. According to the Babylonian system, which probably prevailed in Palestine, it began in ordinary years in the last third of March, but in every third or intercalary year, a month later. So if, for those brothers and sisters that are going to be doing the academy and joining the camp, at some point, I know Zahab does it pretty much every year. The brother Zahab, he teaches about how we come up with the calendar. If you're aspiring to be a priest or a teacher, you should have an idea of how we figure out when the holy days are, how the calendar works, what is an intercalary year and why we use it, so forth and so on. If you don't know these things, that's not no shade to you, but these are things that you want to learn, how the calendar operates, right? That's neither here nor there. Let's move on. So I decided to have a conversation with ChatGPT. I like to take AI's temperature sometimes to see, because I understand this thing is controlled. It only knows the answers that its creator tells it, but I wanted to see what its creator was telling it, if it was going to be honest. So in the blue and upper right-hand corner, you guys can see I asked ChatGPT a question. I said, is modern Christianity the offspring of Judaism? Now, I'm asking this for a reason. And it says the short answer is yes, but with important qualifications. Real quick, I'm going to come out of here because I already know what's happening. The banner is probably obstructing y'all view of the entire exchange, so I'm going to take the banner down for the time being. Okay, cool, boom. Let's come back. Normally, I don't remember to do that, or praise the Most High, I remember today. So it says the short answer is yes. The short, careful answer: modern Christianity emerged from Judaism. Now, the reason why I'm asking this, brothers and sisters, is because if modern Christianity emerged from Judaism, then should New Year be the same time that the Jews were? Right? It's there in the book. Specifically from Second Temple Judaism, but it's not simply Judaism's continuation. It became a distinct religion after major theological, textual, and institutional breaks. In other words, they started syncretizing Christianity with a lot of the pagan stuff the other nations was doing. So now it's no longer the same. It's a bastardized child. How does I'm gonna come right here to the conclusion. In that sense, well, you know what? Let's read all this. How Christianity does come from Judaism. Christianity began as a Jewish movement. Judaism provided the scriptures, the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, the ethical framework, monotheism, covenant theology, and messianic hope. Jesus was a Jew, taught from the Torah and prophets, and worshiped in synagogues, and spoke within Jewish categories. The earliest followers were Jews who believed Jesus was promised Messiah. Wait a minute, I thought the Jews rejected Christ. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. I thought the Jews rejected Christ. That's what the Christians teach, but AI says no. The earliest followers of Christ were Jews. Who do you think those multitudes he was talking to in Matthew chapter 5? What's called the Beatitudes. Those were Jews. The ones that rejected Christ was the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes. But the everyday people, many of them followed him. Bullet point number 4. This all happened within Second Temple Judaism, a diverse Jewish world with many sects. So in that sense, Christianity is born out of Judaism, not paganism, meaning that Christianity is pagan today, but it wasn't always. If you guys are following along with what AI is saying without it actually saying it. Let's go to the next one. Next question I asked at the top. If modern Christianity is based loosely on Second Temple Judaism, why do Christians observe New Year on January 1st? The Jews observed it in the spring. It told me that's a very good question, and it gets to the heart of where Christianity departs from its Jewish roots. Short answer: Christians observe January 1st as the new year because of Roman civil tradition. That's why they were celebrated at midnight. Remember earlier I showed you guys the book that's that whole idea of the new year coming in or a day coming in at midnight. That goes back to Rome. And so the Christians followed that, not the Bible. They were following Rome. Christians observe January 1st as the new year because of Roman civil tradition, not biblical or Jewish tradition. So yes, they come out of Judaism, but they decided to follow the Romans instead. It has nothing to do with Second Temple Judaism and everything to do with the Roman calendar Christians later adopted. So the Christians decided to adopt the Roman calendar, and the Roman calendar says January 1st is the new year to celebrate their god Janus, so forth and so on. And the Christians said, cool, we down. We're down. Let's go to the next one. This is from a book called The Golden Bow, a study in magic and religion. We're on page number 359. What considerations led the ecclesiastical authorities, translation, the church fathers, the ones that sold out, to institute the festival of Christmas? The motives for the innovation are stated with great frankness by Syrian writer himself, a Christian. The reason, he tells us, why the fathers transferred the celebration of the 6th of January to the 25th of December was this: it was a custom of the heathen to celebrate on the same 25th of December the birthday of the sun, because that's what you're doing. That's not when Christ was born. At which they kindled lights in the token of festivity. In these solemnities and festivities, the Christians also took part. That's what I've been trying to tell y'all now for the last 2 months. These Israelites that are in these places like where Paul is writing to, these Israelites are mixing the Torah and the teachings of the Bible with Roman and Greek practices. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. So the Jews that were in the land look at these people as foreigners. You got to immerse yourself, get out of religion, and immerse yourself as if you were there into the history of what's going on, and you can clearly see what's going on in these epistles that Paul was writing. You can clearly see it. These people were formerly pagans, and they were mixing and matching. You see this in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. The church there was having problems with concupiscence, which is evil sexual lusts of things that they were doing before they heard about Christ and repented. And you had some people that were in the church, but they were still dealing with concupiscence, meaning they were still involved with some of these acts and rituals, sex rituals that were wicked. They were doing that, and in the church at Thessalonica. That's in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Matter of fact, let's get it. I know it's kind of off the beat, but let's get it. Let's come here. Oops, 1 second, guys. Oh, here we go. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians. I believe it's chapter 4. I'm winging it right now. I spelled that right. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I did. Okay. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Let's start from verse 1. Furthermore, then we beseech you, brethren, and exhort you by the Lord Jesus Christ, that as ye have received of us how ye ought to walk. In translation, people in the church were not walking the way they're supposed to walk. We told you how you're supposed to conduct yourself. Now I'm reminding you how you're supposed to conduct yourself, because I'm hearing y'all not conducting yourself the way y'all supposed to. And to please God, so ye would abound more and more. For ye know what commandments we gave you by the Lord Jesus Christ. So you know what things that we taught you concerning what Christ said. You know what you were supposed to do. For this is the will of God, even your sanctification, and that ye abstain from fornication. Why are you telling the church to abstain from fornication? Why are you writing a letter to say that? Because they were still dibbling and dabbling in that. A lot of the Israelites were still going to these pagan festivals, still, even after learning about the gospel and repenting, still. Number 4, that every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and not in concupiscence. What's that? What's that concupiscence? I know black people don't know what that is, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and help y'all out with that one. Concupiscence means strong sexual desire. There were people in the church at Thessalonica that were having an issue with lust and strong sexual desire. That's what the word concupiscence means. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what was these desires? So let me see if I can find it real quick. If I can't, then that's okay, because it's kind of off the topic anyway.
Don't bring up Cabra. Oh, Lord, don't do that.
Well, I have to do it.
Good Lord, man. And you know what? It was, while you're looking that up, it was the church fathers also. Some of the elders in the church was doing that and leading the people astray. That's why they did that whole syncretism took a hold, because they try to blend in foolishness like what the priest is going to show you and try to blend it in and say, yeah, this is the way of the Lord. Madness.
So you guys are looking on your screen. I did just a quick search. It says the Cabras cult was in Thessalonica, and we're reading 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. There's some concupiscence going on in the church. So Paul has to write them and remind them, you got to keep your vessel. What is concupiscence? Strong sexual desire. What kind, you might ask, priest? Okay, well, the Cabras cult in Thessalonica focused on mysterious, chthonic deities linked to fertility, seafaring, and secret initiation rites, with phallic symbols being prominent expressions of given life. Does everybody know what a phallic symbol is? Do I have to say it? It's the male reproductive organ, right? This is what was going on in these cults in Thessalonica, and you had people in the church that were still falling into that. Still. Okay? So now, this is what Paul was dealing with. This is why the Jews that were in Jerusalem were looking at these people as Gentiles and foreigners, like, nah, they're off. Anyway, coming back here to the PowerPoint, we're seeing the same thing. So it says, It was a custom of the heathen to celebrate on the same 25th of December, the birthday of the sun, at which they kindled lights in token of festivity. In these solemnities and festivities, the Christians also took part. So what you guys are seeing is that these newly converted Christian Israelites that were following Christ was still messing with the pagan stuff too. And what happened was, as time went on, the church fathers decided it'd be better just to meld the two together, mix the two together, so that way they could keep the people. Right? And that's what you're looking at in church today. Accordingly, when the doctors of the church perceived that the Christians had a leaning to this festivity, in other words, they liked that wicked stuff. They liked it. They took counsel and resolved that the true nativity should be solemnized on that day, and the festivity of the Epiphany on the 6th of January. So basically, the church fathers simply decided to go along with the madness. That's what you guys are seeing. All right. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 20. It says, "For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I will not transgress." What are these bands and yokes the Most High busted? Us being in captivity. Just go throughout the book of Judges and look at what happened. The Most High would raise up a judge. They would deliver Israel. Then when Israel was delivered from these other nations, what happened? We would go right back into being in sin again. And the Most High would allow another nation to come and basically rule us, right? And then we would cry out to the Most High about this nation. The Most High would raise up another judge. We'd be delivered. We'd go right back into sin. And another nation would rise up, put us in captivity. We cried to the Lord. Most High sent another judge. So this happened over and over and over and over again. Jeremiah 2, verse 20, it says, "For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I will not transgress." Of course, when somebody's in distress, they're going to say anything. So we said, you know what? Thank the Most High for sending Samson. Thank the Most High for sending Gideon. You know what? We're going to get it right this time. We're not about to do that stuff anymore, right? When upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest and playest the harlots. So we said we was going to do something, and then we didn't do it. Over and over again. And such it is that you see today. Let me show you guys this video of this Christian church and what they're doing on January 1st in honor of the so-called Most High that they say they worship, that they do not. Check this out, y'all. Some of y'all may have seen this already. This is from a couple of years ago. New Year's Eve 2024 at the Dream Center in Atlanta. Bishop William Murray II. Come on with it.
Come on, look at him again. So you got to work the prophecy. You got to work. This year, you got to stand up. You got to walk it out. That's how we going out of here tonight. Look at your neighbor and say, walk it out.
Y'all see all the balloons, all the festivities? Look at your neighbor and say, walk it out.
They trying to act like they don't know what you're referring to. Look at them and tell them, walk it out.
Hey, now walk it out. 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 DJ, walk it out. We ain't not walk it out. No, not walk it out. Here we go.
This is church, y'all. This is church.
Hey, priest, you know why people don't want to leave the church, brother? Because why leave the streets when I can have the best of both worlds? I could do the walk it out. I could do all of that. I could eat pork. I could do all of that and still come to God. So that's why people love Christianity, bro, because it's like you get the best of both worlds. If you're an Israelite, what do you mean? I got to stop doing this? I got to stop doing that? Nah, I'm going to be a Christian, because at least with Christianity, God knows my heart. You know what I'm saying? I can still bless this pork, and I can eat, and I can still celebrate Christmas and all these wicked days, and God still love me. So in essence, it's a perfect marketing plan, bro.
It's a perfect marketing plan. Real quick, just came to me, so I'm gonna go to it real quick. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18. We're gonna pick it up from verse 18, right? This is Jeremiah 18, verse 18. It says, "Then said they, Come, and let us devise devices against Jeremiah. Jeremiah is going to be symbolic of us, the Israelites that are teaching today, and it's true. Because we're experiencing the same thing that Jeremiah is going to experience. It says, then said they, come and let us devise devices against Jeremiah. For the law shall not perish from the priests, nor counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophet. Come and let us smite him with the tongue, and let us not give heed to any of his words. So they had set up a plot and said, you know what? We're going to smite this man with our tongue. We're going to speak against him. We're going to speak down upon him. Because as long as this man is allowed to continue to do what he's doing, he's not going to stop teaching. And he is literally a mirror. Excuse me. He's literally holding up a mirror, which is the Bible. And we don't like the reflection that we see in this mirror because we know that we're off. So we don't want to hear that we're off. So you know what? We're going to devise devices against him and speak against him. We're experiencing the same thing, like Zahab was just saying. The reason why the Christians hate the Israelites is for one reason and one reason only. Is because we are a reminder that they're in church doing stuff like this. We are a reminder they're not being taught nothing. They're able to come into church and come as they are. I see a woman dancing in the front of this church in this video right here, dressed like a one step away from being dressed like a harlot. And the girl in front of her looks questionable if she's LBGT or not. I'm just saying. And they're allowed to come into church. Half the guys in there, we already know in church. Half the guys play for the other team already. Come on, man.
You got to work the prophecy. Come on, look at him again. Say, you got to work the prophecy. You got to work. This year, you got to stand up.
Somebody right now is watching saying, I wonder where that church is. I want to go to that church. Oh, my God. Our people, boy.
You got to walk it out.
Walk it out.
That's how we going out of here tonight. Look at your neighbor and say, walk it out.
Just a show. It's just a show. Our people love this.
They're trying to act like they don't know what you're referring to. Look at them and tell them, walk it out.
Hey, now walk it out. 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 DJ, walk it out. Now walk it out. DJ, walk it out. We need to walk it out. No, walk it out. Here we go. Now walk it out. 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 Now west side walk it out. South side walk it out. East side walk it out. North side walk it out. Hey, bend your back low. Do it with no hands. Now stop popping roll.
Now keep it sanctified. I need you to walk.
Wait. How do you keep that sanctified? How? I don't know how you keep it sanctified.
Now keep it sanctified. I need you to walk it out. Come on.
And then we wonder why we're not respected.
Salakia Priest, dealing with that same topic there, I'm pretty sure you're aware, the rapper T.I., did you see that and his comments he made?
Yeah, I saw that. I heard about that.
So, just in case for anybody didn't see it, he said he stands firm on his statement that the church is a business and says religion is a way for humans to hide behind God to control their humans. Basically, he's a nigga in the world, right? Let's just say that. But even a broken clock is right, 2 times, right? So he's saying that this whole church thing is a business. It's a scam. You come, you get entertained, you pay your money to be entertained, and that's all it is. You know what I mean? I just thought it was relevant dealing with this topic. Salaki.
No, it is relevant. It's 100% correct. We can see that video literally is a prime example of that. The reason why there's so many people in there, so many young people in there, is because they're mixing the world with the truth. Well, they're not teaching the truth as Christians, but you guys get the idea. They mix in the Bible with that sort of thing. That's why there's so many people in there. And more people equals more money. So it is definitely a business, right? And I'm going to be 100%. Again, my sisters are going to be mad at me. And more women means more money too. You know what I'm talking about? Trust me. I watched my mother empty her purse, literally empty her purse, turn it upside down and empty it. The last couple of dollars fell out in some lint too, and put that in the church. She had faith. You know what I'm saying? When I was a kid, my mother used to feed the pastor. I'm not even exaggerating. My sister would tell you. My mother used to feed the pastor every Sunday. We were on welfare. We were on welfare. We were on food stamps. My mother would take her food stamps and she would cook Sunday dinner enough for our family, and she cooked for the pastor's family as well. These are people that had money. I'm saying they were the pastor of the church. He had money. And my mother on welfare would feed them. And they never gave my mother nothing. Nothing. So that goes to show you the mindset of the church, man. I'm not saying this to knock the sisters in a bad way. The sisters have faith, which is a beautiful thing. Faith is a beautiful thing. But unfortunately, some of our sisters have so much blind faith, they don't realize that they're being used in these churches. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, but what's so funny is that when our Israelite sisters come into the truth, all of a sudden, man, that your purse is closed. You don't help the truth, which is wild in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? We can't rub two nickels together, man, to try to get things done in the Israelite community is crazy. But in church, man, y'all will give y'all last. Anyway, I'm pretty sure everybody has heard the term of April Fools, right? April Fool's Day. But what is an April Fool? We're going to go into the origin of April Fool's Day and its importance. All right, let me turn the volume all the way up so you guys can hear it. Okay, let's go.
Today on the Daily Dose, the history of April Fool's Day. While the exact origins of April Fool's Day remain shrouded in debate, some historians have speculated that April Fool's Day dates back to 1582, when France...
1582. Who's been paying attention? That's the Calendar Reform Act. When the calendar goes back to being January 1st as the new year. Remember that? Okay.
Dates back to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, as mandated by the Council of Trent in 1563. Since the Julian calendar places the new year on April 1st, people who were slow to get the news or failed to recognize that the new year had moved to January 1st became the butt of jokes and hoaxes when dullards continued to celebrate New Year's on April 1st.
Y'all caught that? And some of us did this stuff. April Fools, you tell a joke, you tell somebody something, they say, April Fools, and you thought it was just some random thing that you were doing, didn't know the background on it. No. When the calendar switched to the Gregorian calendar, the new year goes back to January 1st. They were celebrating it April 1st, but now they were moving it back to January 1st. Well, everybody didn't get the word right away. So you still had some people that were celebrating it April 1st, and they were called April Fools or dullards, which means stupid. That's the origin of it. Let's go back a little bit. I don't want to interrupt the video. It's not a very long video, so let's just go back just for context so you guys can get it.
While the exact origins of April Fool's Day remain shrouded in debate, some historians have speculated that April Fool's Day dates back to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, as mandated by the Council of Trent in 1503. Since the Julian calendar places the new year on April 1st, people who were slow to get the news or failed to recognize that the new year had moved to January 1st became the butt of jokes and hoaxes when dullards continued to celebrate New Year's on April 1st. Frenchmen in the know would place a paper fish on the back of ignorant revelers, calling them Poisson d'Avril, or April fish. Other historians have linked April Fool's Day to ancient Roman festivals such as Hilaria, which is...
So if you observing April Fools, you're indirectly, whether you know it or not, doing something that goes back to pagan festivals in Rome. It's all related. This is what I'm saying. And this is what's not being taught in these churches. And they unknowingly, for the most part, are indirectly participating in these pagan rituals, and many of them don't even know it. And guess what, brothers and sisters? Many of us, before we came into the truth, we too indirectly participated in all these pagan customs and rituals as well. And that's why we need Yahushua. Because according to the Mosaic law, under that first covenant, if you do any form of idolatry whatsoever, you're supposed to die. So if that was literally applied to us today, we would not be worthy of what the Most High had promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But because Yahushua came and died and mediated a new covenant under which we can be reconciled from all things, now those of us that was in church with white Jesus on that, which is Caesar Borgias, on a stained glass window, they have a picture of freaking Kronos, and they say that that's the Most High, right? In your Sunday school book, the same thing. That we're able to come back from that now because Christ came and he died. That's the idea. That's good news. That's the gospel. That's good news, right?
It's Latin for joyful, when people dressed up in disguises and mocked both average citizens and magistrates alike. Still others have speculated that the day was tied to the vernal equinox, or first day of spring in the northern hemisphere, when Mother Nature frequently fooled people with changing, unpredictable weather. Despite these competing origin theories, April Fool's Day spread throughout Britain during the 18th century.
That's enough on it. I just want you guys to know that that goes back to this whole idea with the calendar and the people that did not accept or didn't know about the calendar switching, they were called April Fools. All right. So when is the biblical New Year? Now, we saw it in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. We saw it in the Jewish Encyclopedia. Now let's just read it in the scriptures. This is Exodus 12, starting from verse number 1. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." And we know that Exodus 12 goes into the Passover. When you jump over to Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1, it says, "Observe the month of Abib." So now we know what month is being mentioned in Exodus 12. It's the month of Abib, which we know falls March, April, right? "Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt." So the year begins around the time the Most High brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. We know that that takes place sometime in March, the end of March into early April. That is the biblical New Year. And since Christianity comes from the Torah, right? It comes from the ancient Jews. This is when they are also supposed to be celebrating New Year's. But they decided to follow Rome instead. That's the idea. And again, when you look up the word Abib, it literally means earring or barley. Like it means barley or ears. And it falls around March or April, as you guys can see. This is 34 verses 18 through 22. It says, "The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee in the time of the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib thou camest out of Egypt. All that openeth the matrix is mine, and every firstling among thy cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with the lamb. And if thou redeem him not, then shalt thou break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. 6 days thou shalt work, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest in earing time, and in the harvest thou shalt rest. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of first fruits, of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end." Okay, so let's move on. That's pretty self-explanatory. Now, let's get into this. Saturnalia and Capricorn both Saturn worship. Now, before we came into the truth, many of us actually believed in what is called these zodiacs, right? So depending on what month you were born, we believed in the so-called zodiac chart, and you believed that your attributes and things that you do were governed by when you were born, what month you were born in, what day you were born in the month, so forth and so on. We believe these things. These things have ancient pagan roots, right? So basically, the month of January, really the end of December, December 22nd to January 19th, falls under what is called Capricorn. It falls under what is called Capricorn. And I want you guys to look at the image right here, and you guys will notice that's the image of a goat, right? Okay, what's the next one? You come to Capricorn here, same thing, the image of a goat, and the ruling planet is Saturn, right? Let's go to the next one. I want you to watch this video real quick, and we're going to bring it all together.
Well, in your new song, the last song you put out, King Judah,
right?
You said in the chorus, you said, "Got them Gentiles busting at me." Now, a Gentile, from what I understand, is a non-Jew.
But Europeans.
Europeans?
Yeah, Gentiles. They not Jews. They worship Saturn. That's what Satan is, just Saturn in the Bible. And we talking about the Vatican and all of that.
See now, for honesty's sake and clarity, this brother was an Israelite maybe for 5 minutes, and now he's no longer an Israelite. He's not a believer. But the Most High allowed him to go on Vlad's platform. Vlad is a so-called Jew. Probably didn't expect him to say this, and he's explaining how a lot of these religions that we see today, including Judaism, the version that the so-called white people observe, along with Christianity, all these religions are based around Saturn and Saturn worship. Listen.
Worship Satan, and that's Saturn. Gentiles are not Jews, but when you think about it, Jews come from Judah. So even the people who think they Israelites, yeah, you still of that because you're born in one of those zodiacs. So, but you're taking it literally, and you're not supposed to take it literally. Even in the Bible, it says these. It says these.
So, what I want you guys to see is like that's enough of that. What I want you guys to see is that people understand, if they just do a little bit of research, they understand all these things revolve around Saturn worship, all of it. Now, let me go back real quick because I did miss something. Let me go back to this slide right here. I want you guys to look at this. I want you guys to look at these dates right here for so-called Capricorn, which is really ruled by Saturn, right? It encompasses December 22nd through January 19th, which means that it falls under the same umbrella of Saturn worship that Christmas does. So literally, Saturnalia is not just Christmas. It also includes worshiping and bringing in the new year, January 1st as well. That's what I wanted to say. I forgot that part. Okay, let's continue. All right. Saturn worship is really Horus worship. Let's look at this highlighted portion we have right here. Saturn has the head of a bull, corresponding to his traditional Egyptian name Horus, bull of the sky. Jupiter has the head of a falcon with two cow horns, a disc, and two feathers between them, a dendra, right? Now I want to go to the next thing. I'm going to bring it all together for you guys, right? This is the book of Leviticus chapter 18. We're going to pick it up in verse number 1. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do." What were the Egyptians doing? Well, they were doing a lot. But relevant to what we're talking about today, this whole idea of Saturn worship, what were the Egyptians doing? They were worshiping Saturn too. And we, the Israelites, knew that. We observed it. So when the Most High delivered us out of Egypt, the Most High told us the things that we learned there, specifically today's lesson, worshiping Saturn, don't do it. Everybody got that? Now, one of the ways Saturn is depicted, it's depicted as having a head of a bull. Let's go to the next one. Brothers and sisters, when we went into the wilderness, all the way back then, when we came out of Egypt, brothers and sisters, we were worshiping Saturn all the way back then. What do you think the golden calf was? The golden calf is nothing other than Apis the bull. And that disc on top of the cows, on top of Apis' head, is Saturn. That's what it is. This is Exodus 32, verse 1. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. Verse 2. And by the way, when you really go do a deep dive into this whole idea of Saturn worship, there was something with the number 40, which is the same number of days that Moses was with the Most High. Anyway, but I don't want to get too deep into that. Verse 2. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings, which is in the ears of your wives, your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings, which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. Verse 4. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. That molten calf is Apis the bull. Now, what would happen with the Apis bull, right? It's an animal. So there was a literal statues of Apis the bull, and they also would have literal bulls that would act as an Apis, if you get what I'm saying, to act out the ritual. They would actually have bulls, right? And then when that bull would be sacrificed, they would go get a calf to make a new Apis, right? So this is what was going on in Egypt. We were in Egypt and we were seeing these things. So as verse 1 teaches us, when Moses was gone, we reverted back to what we knew. What did we know in Egypt? We knew about Apis the bull. We knew about that. So we told Moses, make us a god. And he made us a bull or calf. That's what he did. Verse 4. And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Now, if you're thinking, using critical thinking, Aaron didn't just make a god out of thin air, like just come up with something. No, it's what they already knew. That's why when he made it, they were able to accept it because it was something they were very familiar with. The exact thing the Lord told them in Leviticus 18 not to do is the exact thing they did. So we've been worshiping Saturn since we left Egypt. It was in the wilderness, and we're still worshiping Saturn today in these churches. Here's another image from Egypt of Saturn represented as Horus. This is from Egypt. This is what we knew. So when we went into that wilderness, this is what Aaron made. He made what they knew. Now let's bring it up to modern times. So we just saw that we were actually knowingly or unknowingly worshiping Saturn when we was in the wilderness with Moses and Aaron. Now we're going to bring it up to modern times. The image on the left, I'm pretty sure most of you brothers and sisters have seen it before. This is the image that Michelangelo created. And this guy right here, this is supposed to be God the Father. This is in churches. This is in some of the Sunday school books that our children read in church today. This guy right here. That's God the Father. Brothers and sisters, this is not God the Father. This is Kronos. On the right-hand side of image number 2, here's the image of Kronos right here. And here's Janus right here. The fake image of God the Father is none other than Saturn being worshipped in these churches today. So when they give the children the little Sunday school books with all the cute white images in there, a lot of those are pagan deities. A lot of them.
Hey, priest, you know what a tip is? You know what the a clue is because if I went to church and I looked up and I saw that, right, and I'm dealing with the Most High God and I'm reading scriptures, why are you showing the Son of God naked, right? Why are you showing the angels naked? See, the so-called white man is never going to beat the charge that he's a child molester, he's a degenerate, he deals with pedophiles and all that stuff. Why are you depicting the Heavenly Father and his angels and the Son naked? That's crazy. That's a red flag right there. You know what I mean? And for brothers and sisters who still caught up in that Catholic Church, y'all got to ask yourselves that, right? Because Rome is the mother church. So from the Catholic perspective, right, they're the ones who push the doctrines to all these smaller little churches. Why? Why is everybody naked? You telling me the Roman Empire conquered the whole world and they ran out of clothes, bro? Is that what you're telling me?
Apparently.
Right?
So guys,
yeah, go ahead, Salakia.
I did a quick Google search and I did images of Kronos, and you guys will see Kronos is always depicted as an old man, and there's always naked babies around him too. You guys can see all these images, right? I mean, I know they're kind of small, but you guys can see them, right? You guys can see them. Always depicted with little naked babies. Always. Right? In some images, he's eating the child. Like that. Okay? Another one of Kronos right here. Children, naked children. So it makes sense, right? When we come back to the PowerPoint now, it makes sense that you guys understand what I'm trying to show you. This is Kronos, surrounded by naked children. That's not God. That's not God. Okay? And again, as I told you, Kronos is Saturn. So the pattern follows. In one way or another, the Israelites been worshiping Saturn since antiquity. And then some of us, the Most High wakes us up to realize that we're in paganism. It's just kind of wrapped into a package because they've been able to infuse the Bible with it. That's called syncretism. So it doesn't look as pagan as it did in ancient times. So it's more palatable to people that claim to be Bible believers because it looks like Christianity, but when you peel back the layers, it's Satan worship, it's Saturn worship. That's what it is. And that's the time of year we're in right now. Our people have been seduced. Proverbs 12 and 26, it says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the ways of the wicked seduceth them. And we saw that the Israelites in the wilderness being seduced to raise up the gods of Egypt all over again when Moses went away for a little while. And we follow that timeline all the way up until today, and we see the same thing. We've been seduced into worshiping these other gods. And when those of us that know the truth try to tell people, it doesn't matter whether we do it with force or we do it in a way that's gentle. Our people are so entrenched in these traditions, they just don't want to give them up, sadly. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully, prayerfully, I showed something that maybe you guys can show to somebody else. And maybe peradventure, somebody can actually come out of that wicked thing that they call a church, brothers and sisters. I do appreciate y'all listening. I'm going to put the banner back up. If the class made sense, you guys could put one in the chat. Let me know it made sense and you guys were able to follow along. So, Zahab, while they're doing that, if you want to say any words, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Salakia. Yeah, excellent class, priest. Excellent class. I just want to bring out two scriptures. First one is Psalms 19, dealing with the calendar and all the stuff that they try to change and all that foolishness. The book of Psalms, chapter 19, I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "The heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard." The Most High is the one who created the heavens and the earth, right? So he's the one that created the sun and the moon and the stars for times, right? Just understand that. I don't care what the so-called white man says. He could try to change times, but he can't, right? The Most High already have an eternal clock that's in the heavens, right? And it's never going to change. So we could set our clock by that. And if we don't know the Most High's clock specifically, because like the scripture says, no man knoweth the time and the hour and the day, right? You could get an understanding, because wisdom crieth out. We're supposed to use wisdom. We know the barley season coincides with Passover, right? We know that Passover should be in the month of Abib. So if we discontinued our heritage, if the Lord put us in captivity and we don't know, at least we have clues, right? So we're not running around here celebrating New Year's on January 1st and all of this madness. So just keep in mind the Most High. If we seek the Most High and use wisdom, he'll give us clues and he'll bring us back to him, right? So we're not like everybody else. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I want to bring out 1 Corinthians 4 and 10 also. Let me get 1 Corinthians 4 and 10. Listen, if they were laughing at us and if they was laughing at people back then and calling them April Fool's Day or April Fools, then what are we? Because guess what? In 2026, Passover is on April 1st. So you're going to call us fools also? All right? This is 1 Corinthians 4 and 10. It says, "We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak." Yeah, you could call us weak. You could call us Power Rangers. You call us all type of foolishness. And you say you are strong, right? "Ye are honorable, but we are despised." So what Paul is saying, yeah, you consider yourself one thing and we could be the other, but that's all right. We're going to be fools for Christ. We're going to be fools for Christ. So next year, I hope to see my brothers and sisters in Passover on April Fool's Day. Yeah, call me a fool. I will be that fool. But at the end of the day, I'm a fool for Christ. All right? And I end it there, priest.
All right, guys. So listen up. Listen up. I need everybody to listen up, especially if you are someone that's going to be doing the academy. I need you guys to listen up. Everyone that's supposed to be doing the academy should have already been in the group chat. You guys should already be in the group chat already. The sister Shemayim and I believe Brother Zakaria and a few others are doing the administrative work. And you guys need to be looking out for announcements that's being made. The academy is starting January the 4th, right? I'm going to make a video that's going to be put inside the Telegram for the academy, letting you guys know exactly what's expected in this academy. I'm going to give you guys an idea of exactly what we're doing, all right? And how you guys are going to receive the classes, so forth and so on. So I'm going to put a video in the group chat, all right? And I need for everybody that's doing the academy to watch it, because what winds up happening is that it's a lot of confusion. People are not following instructions when we're doing this academy because you're not listening to the instructions that's being given. All instructions that you need to know are going to be in the Telegram group. The first thing you guys are going to see from me, possibly maybe even as early as tomorrow, you guys are going to see a video of me telling you guys exactly what it is we're doing in this academy and what's expected of you, how you find the classes, so forth and so on. All right, so please look out for that. Passover is April the 1st, as Elder Zahab already mentioned. It's being held in Newark, New Jersey. Please consult the email that's going along at the bottom of the screen. If you plan on attending, please email us your name. Please email us how many people are coming, so forth and so on. And then we'll get back to you and let you know exactly what we need from you. All right. We want to make sure that we have enough provisions for everyone. All right. It's much love from me to y'all. I appreciate everybody coming here every week, listening to the class. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube. click the notification bell so you guys can be notified every time we go live. Every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have class. All right. So if you guys want to know about our other classes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. You guys will be notified every time we go live. We go live Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday morning. All right. On this channel going forward. All right. With that being said, after everything that we done saw, we know that America must be destroyed. God has to come and destroy this place. It's your brother Priest Daniel, representing Lions of Israel. Maccabees TV. If you've watched the video and not hit the like button, you need to repent and believe the gospel. And with that being said, most I got to burn this place, man.
I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? Her name is Babylon. I call her Babs for short. She has a lot of lovers. She lets them pass her port. She has a love affair with every foreign nation. She has a favorite wine. Its name is fornication. She has a purple robe. She has a pearly necklace. And if you worship Caesar, she'll give you worldly blessings. She's insatiable. She cannot hide her passion. Last week, somebody said she rides a dragon. I know it's crazy, but the question is why she had to put a crown upon its 7 heads. And it's even deeper. I had to peep the madness. She made war with the saints that tried to keep commandments. And since she killed the righteous and won't let me be, when she burns, it won't be from an STD. Bodies everywhere, both man and beast. And on that day, the birds are gonna have a feast. You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? Show me the finest girl. Babs is just as pretty. Her name is Babylon. The girl is such a mystery. Yeah, she's been that way since we were little kids. She nicknamed me Mark like I was 666. She said, you want my number? I said, you high as hell. She said, you need my number or you can't buy or sell. She said, take my number. I know that I can't make you, but I'm espoused to Christ and I'm staying faithful. Isaiah had a vision. He saw the elevation. Jesus preached the gospel. John had a revelation. Her lovers hated Babs, so they burned her up. What's upside down, the Lord could always turn it up. You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? I'm telling Babylon. 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 I'm telling Babylon.